I was like, this is happening because this is a movie about Batman vs Superman, and it's not well explained beyond that. We've got all this other stuff built up because we have to build up the thing. It doesn't make sense in the context of the story, but we got to get it in there so that we can do the other movie. It's really frustrating.
This is happening because
reasons. Exactly. Yeah, because the movie said it needed to happen. Why does Lex Luthor know who seem to know who Batman and Superman are in their alter egos? Because the movie required it. And they don't ever explain how he found that out.
You know what I have to say to your opinion on this, Striker?
What?
Wrong.
Who will come out on top?
That's not an opinion. No, it doesn't make any sense.
I was making a joke about a movie I haven't actually seen.
Oh, I see what you did there.
That's the only thing I've really seen of. What is that? What was it? I was gonna. What? That's right.
With Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
I was gonna say that's right. There was a second Superman movie, wasn't there?
Well, there's been like 5 or 6 of them now.
Well, I mean, the modern one.
Oh. Yeah, there was Superman Returns, which was an attempt to reboot the original Superman movie series. And it did not go over because, guess what? It turns out people don't enjoy movies where Superman doesn't do shit.
I, too, enjoy movies where Superman actually does stuff. When I actually watch movies with Superman in them.
Right. And I get that the thing with Superman is not that his powers are his powers are a thing, yes. But Superman, when he's written well, is never about what Superman is actually capable of doing. A lot of it is the most interesting thing for Superman is the fact that he is invulnerable, but everything that he's trying to protect isn't. And on top of that, what happens when you have somebody with his powers but does not have his conviction?
You get Superman Red Sun.
Yeah. Well, even Red Sun had a set of principles, even though they were corrupted by him growing up in the Stalinist Soviet Union. Because at the end of the story, he ended up having to make a moral choice that turned out to be one that rang true. You ever actually read Red Sun?
I did not.
Okay. So basically, they run that story from I think like the when Stalin was actually in power, all the way up until like the 90s. And as it goes on, Superman basically brings the Soviet Union and the whole idea of communism almost entirely worldwide. And Lex Luthor, instead in this story, gets hired by the government to stop Superman. He comes up with, and that's how all the villains that Superman would normally deal with get created. They're all Lex Luthor's plans to try to stop him. So, eventually, Lex Luthor just becomes president and completely stabilizes things in the United States, which is the only holdout in the entire world run by communism at this point. And he's picked up Brainiac and forced him to do what he needs him to do. He's basically mind blasted everybody that doesn't agree with him. Up to and including a version of Batman that goes after him, Batman that wears a new Shanka for some reason. And basically at the end of this, it's Batman, but he's wearing a Ushanka for some reason.
Batman can do whatever he wants.
Pretty much. So at the end of the story, Lex Luthor has had this entire plan that he went through, and he has Lois give Superman this letter. Superman reads it, and ultimately Superman leaves the planet. And the whole idea was the city of Pendle. You familiar with that?
I am not.
Okay, so the city of Kandor is a thing in the Red Witch Superman mythos. It is a city that Brainiac shrunk down. That was basically the only remaining city, the only remaining part of Krypton. Yeah, so it was a whole city full of Kryptonians stuck in this bubble city, miniaturized. So Superman, much like in the regular continuity, had no way to restore the Kandorians to the regular size. And so that was like his biggest failure. He couldn't help these guys. And so Lex Luthor gives him this letter that says, "Why don't you just stick the whole world in a bottle?"
And then Brainiac's like, "Wait, why don't I?" Right.
Well, Brainiac, is mind messed up at this point. He can't do anything. Although he eventually breaks free at the end of the story. But yeah, so Superman leaves the planet when he gets this message, and it just devastates him, and so he's gone forever. And Lex Luthor wins this particular story. And then they do something really weird with it, where basically they set up this thing where Lex Luthor lives forever. He has a bunch of kids, and eventually they somehow become Krypton.
Like Setsuna F. Seihei becomes Gundam?
Something like that. But yeah, the whole, even in that reality where Superman's, technically not necessarily the best person, because of the way he was brought up, he still made a moral choice that, that kind of set him apart. The core of Superman was still there, even though it was completely covered up in everything else.
He was still at his core Superman.
Yep. Whoa, getting kind of rapey there, Ghost Rider.
Look, something is happening. Who knows what it is?
Yep.
You have challenged my Hellspawn power and lost.
Ghost Rider, I'm going to ride right into this building. I can't help but notice that Ken versus Iron Fist movie thing in the background.
Why aren't either of those people in this game? Especially with one of them has a friggin' TV show.
Well, Ryu's there, so we don't need Ken. They could, they could just do what they did in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and have him do the Switch thing.
Yeah, that would have been fine.